This is the Fit Femmes movement. Have you felt overwhelmed with your fitness journey and feel like you just want to give up? Are you a busy female professional or entrepreneur looking for weight loss and self-care solutions that you can squeeze into your hectic schedule? Then you're in the right place. Let's get inspired to make fitness and healthy living improve rather than consume your life. Together, we'll take major strides towards a happier, healthier, even wealthier you. I'm Julia Hickman, your host and coach. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on another episode of the Fit Femmes Movement podcast. Today, I have the lovely Karen Finn, and we're going to be hearing some more from her. But for those of you who are new to me, I'm Julia Hickman. I'm a lifestyle and fitness coach for career women. And I also have another business that I will be telling you guys some more about later on. But I love helping women up-level their lives so that they can show up as their highest selves, so that they can feel fulfilled in all areas of their lives. I focus on fitness, but I bring on many guests, as you know, who cover some other areas that I am not an expert in. And today I'm so happy to talk with Karen Finn. And Karen, so Karen helps women women who are struggling with, who are going through menopause, who are struggling with their health, and she teaches intermittent fasting as well. So Karen, why don't you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, who you help, and a little bit about how you got started with the work that you're doing?
Sure. Hello. Thank you so much for having me on. It's really exciting to be here. So I help perimenopausal and menopausal women tackle their symptoms, and also sometimes you get stubborn weight gain around this time of your life, and things suddenly don't work anymore. And so also I help women explain. I explain to women what's going on in their bodies, because a lot of people don't even realize that you can have hormonal changes from like your mid-30s, or even, well, it could be younger too, but generally your reproductive hormones start to decline around your mid-30s. And so when you think of menopause, you think of generally you associate it with like your grandmother or something. And so, I just try to educate women around that. And then also to empower women to trust themselves, and to try to find ways using self-care and simple lifestyle changes to feel better, to get their sparkle back. Because a lot of times when you're going through this phase, you can feel a bit flat. And so I help women together. I'm like an ally. I help women find what works best for them. I don't tell people what to do. I'm by your side, and we work things out together. And my clients kind of just come to this realization by themselves and learn to trust themselves. And it's kind of a journey in that sense. And you wanted me to talk about my own story. So how I got into it was
about you and how you got started. What you do.
I had an early menopause, and I had my second child at 38, and then shortly after that, I had two small children. I had a busy career as a health journalist, and I started having symptoms, but I thought it was just, they were kind of creeping up on me, and I thought it was just because I had small kids and a busy life. So I was fatigue, quite bad fatigue, and insomnia, and kind of mood swings and brain fog and memory loss, and like these things kind of kept creeping up on me. Weight gain and dizziness and like all these random things that I didn't connect the dots until I started having hot flashes. And then I was like, oh, menopause, like I didn't know any of those other things were associated with menopause and are common symptoms of menopause. And so I was kind of struggling for a while, for several years. And then when I started having the hot flashes and night sweats, or I'd wake up and have to change the sheets in the middle of the night and stuff, I realized something was up with my hormones. And so I went to the doctor and had a blood test, and he said that my reproductive hormones, this was at age 43, he said, oh, your hormones are what we would expect to see in a 65-year-old woman. So that wasn't very fun. That was kind of upsetting. Yeah, and he said I was postmenopausal. I didn't even know I went through the perimenopause part, which is the part that leads up to menopause. I don't know how much I should go into, but you're postmenopausal when you haven't had your period for 12 months, just so people understand what that is. So before that, you can have a lot of symptoms, and that's perimenopause, and that can be several years before you're postmenopausal. So I didn't realize that that's what was going on because I was on a birth control, so I wasn't having periods at all anyway. And that's one of the main signs, is that your periods start to go a bit crazy.
Yeah.
So after the diagnosis, I was kind of left to my own devices, and I didn't know what to do. And my doctor didn't really, he was kind of like, oh, if you want hormone replacement therapy, let me know. But he didn't really say anything else. And so I wanted to try to go the natural route. And so I was like doing all kinds of supplements and creams and acupuncture and alternative therapies and detoxes and diet and exercise programs and things. Some things helped, but other things, nothing really. I still had this like crippling fatigue and chronic insomnia and other symptoms, and I didn't realize what was going on. And certain things definitely helped, like cutting out sugar, caffeine, alcohol definitely helped. But really, when I started, also like self-care, like Reiki and meditation were also helpful with sleep. But finally, when I was about 50, I stumbled on intermittent fasting, and that's when I really turned a corner. So I started doing that, and I'm 53 now, soon to be 54. And so I've been doing intermittent fasting for a few years, and my friends, like within a few weeks, started to say like, "Oh, you look really good. What have you been doing? You looks like you've like de-aged," or they just started commenting, and I started feeling better. I started sleeping better. My weight started coming off, that stubborn weight that I couldn't get rid of, and I was just kind of my hormones balanced out. And I kind of got off the emotional roller coaster. And so then my friends were finally catching up to me and starting to go through menopause themselves, and started asking me about, what they could do and what I was doing. And it kind of, so I was just teaching them about intermittent fasting and all the other things that went along with it, like self-care. And it kind of naturally morphed into me deciding to become a health and wellness coach, because I felt like I was doing it already with a lot of people. It was like every conversation we were having was about that. So it was very natural and organic, and I realized I could really help a lot of women who were really struggling.
That's wonderful. And I love how you call yourself an ally. It's not really about telling people what they need to do, because I feel like sometimes some women think like, oh, if only somebody would just tell me what to eat, or would tell me which workouts to do, or tell me which supplements. Like, it's about like learning to actually listen to your body and like figure out what works best for you. Right. And it's totally a journey. It's not an overnight thing that happens. It's not something that magically happens after, you do this one thing. It's, you have to be consistent with whatever. First, you have to figure out what's going on with you, right? And then you figure out what you can do. And then you have to keep up with the consistency. And it's also really interesting how intermittent fasting worked so well for you. I personally tried intermittent fasting for a little bit, but then I got ready to have my baby. And then I was like, no, let me just focus on being pregnant and none of that. But it is something that I think back, like now I'm like, maybe I should try intermittent fasting again. Another thing that's interesting, and I think a lot of women listening right now are going to be like, aha, because we tend to equate being menopausal with hot flashes. I feel like that's
Yes.
usually like the sign that people wait, like, oh, once I have my hot flashes, then I know that I'm going through menopause. And
Yeah.
it's great that you're also sharing some of those other things to look out for. Can you just repeat them again? So like dizziness,
Oh,
lack
yeah.
of sleep, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, there's like a list of around 34, I think, like common ones. And there could be more. I mean, yeah, dizziness, anxiety, it can be mental and physical. Anxiety, depression, loss of libido, um, weight gain, fatigue. Did I say insomnia? Mood swings, like irritability,
Yeah.
brain fog, memory loss, the feeling of just being tearful all the time, headaches and migraines, achy joints and muscles, heart palpitations. The list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
It's depressing when you think about it, really. But
It is, but it's such a good reminder. And that's why I really wanted to have you on, because I feel like it's important for women to know that some of these some of these signals that our bodies are giving us are a wake-up call to be like, okay, this is what's happening now. And to not think like, oh, I'll just pop some sleeping pills to help me with my sleep issues, or oh, I'll just just keep putting band-aids on things, but rather like then get really curious and take a closer look at what's going on so that you can prevent something bad from happening, and like to go through, because the reality is, and you can probably educate us more on this, but we're all probably going to go through menopause at some point, but you can get through it more smoothly and more enjoyably, I guess, than to really struggle, or even if you're premenopausal, I'm sure you can do things to make it a little bit less difficult to deal with. I mean, I'm definitely not an expert on that. What would you say is one of the things when women come to you for help? What do you think is, besides all the things, all the like physical and mental things that they're dealing with for the condition, what do you think is also going on in their lives? Because the thing is, like, I feel like self-care tends to be a big thing that is missing in so many women's lives. And that's usually why they're surprised by what's going on in their lives, whether it's, premenopause or, weight gain or whatever it is, whatever difficulty it is they're going through. It's all of a sudden they went through this period where they stopped taking care of themselves. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this happened. And now I'm trying to fix things. Right. So like when women come to you, like what's usually the situation? How do you help them through it?
I would say, first of all, we look at, it's interesting what you're saying, is like, because the self-care, it's just not one thing. It's always like you look at the big picture. And so you can look at, what stressors you have in your life, what's your work situation, or it seems like it's totally unrelated to menopause, but it could be what your work situation is, what your financial, if you're worried about money, if you have, if you're worried about your kids, either you have young kids that are, your hands are full with them, or you have teenagers who are having issues, or aging parents. It's also about your relationships with people and, friends and family, your relationship with your partner, if you have one, and even your physical, how much physical activity you're getting, and whether you're going out and actually having fun. So there's so many different elements that we look at. and we kind of go through. We have this thing. It's like a wheel. I don't know. I don't know if you heard of the wheel of life. And you look at the client rates each area of their lives. There's like 9 main areas, and then it looks kind of like a bicycle wheel, and you rate it like each area on 1 to 10. And so if things are going really well financially, you'd be like a 9 or a 10 or something. But if if you're never exercising or you're never going out and having fun, it would be like a 1 or a 2. And then you realize that the spokes are all uneven. And that's a really good starting point to get like a bird's eye view of your life, and to realize to look at the areas where things are going well, but also where things could be going better, and kind of getting that up to a higher number. And we kind of just go through like how we talk through how how they think they might be able to do that, like maybe thinking about the areas that are going well, and think how they can apply that to the areas that aren't going as well, and so that how can they use what they have already, whatever they do already, and whatever's working for them already, to help strengthen the other areas, or balance out, provide more balance. And yeah, so we actually look at that in the context. And the other thing is the intermittent fasting is like another side thing, but on the more coaching side of things, it's really important to look at the whole picture, and then we can hone in afterwards on areas, and my clients drive the sessions, so they decide what they want to work on. And so maybe one week they'll want to work on trying to have more fun, and then we'll come up with ways that they can do that, and they come up with the ways, and they set the goals and pick feasible, realistic goals, and then maybe the next week, they report back, and we see how things went, and then reevaluate, and then maybe look at that in more depth, or look at a different area that they think they want to work on.
Oh, that's wonderful. Karen, thank you so much for sharing all this with our listeners today. If they want to connect with you, where should they go? Where can they reach you? Do you have anything coming up that you want to share with us?
Well, I have a website, which is karenfinn.net, and I have my coaching offerings on there. And I do I'm hoping in November, I don't have the date yet, but I have an intermittent fasting Kickstart program. It's called Fasting for Menopause. And it's like a 4-week group session where people can learn how to do intermittent fasting. But we also talk about in the context of menopause and other things that are going on in your life too. But it can get people started with fasting, and just teaching them the basics, and supporting them. And then I also have a Facebook group called Fasting for Menopause, which is fasting the number 4 menopause, which I offer support in there too. And that's just a free support group that people can join anytime. So if you want to keep an eye out for my next course, my intermittent fasting group course, go to karenfinn.net.
Great. And I will share those links for Karen in the show notes. So thank you again, Karen, so much for your time today and for sharing your knowledge with us. To everybody who's listening or watching, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank
you very much. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Fit Femmes movement. I would love to hear your thoughts on the podcast, so please leave us a review. And sharing is caring. If you know someone who may benefit from this episode, please share it with them. We need more women up-leveling to their highest selves with grace, courage, and ease. If you'd like to connect with me more and have access to free live trainings and join a community of hundreds of other amazing women, then join my free Facebook group, the Fit Femmes tribe.